Hey everyone, it's your boy Josh, and in this video I'm going to talk a little bit about some SEO theory. Now I know that there's another Josh that does this who makes the SEO theory very complicated, and I'm not doing that to kind of bash him or anything because I'm sure what he says is valid and makes a lot of sense, but I want to kind of make this a dumbed down version of SEO theory because there's a lot of people out there that either they're super technical and no one understands them, or they just don't talk about anything that is, in my opinion, what other SEOs and even some business owners are wondering about. So because there's some people that talk about alt text or heading tags, like, yes, we know what those are and we know that they're important, but we don't know about all the other things. So one of the things that I wanted to touch upon today was the theory of location pages. So if you don't know what a location page is, if you look up something like Casas Adobe's HVAC, this is what I did for a client, right? And you can see it's ranking #1 in the organic search. This is a location page. It's essentially a landing page designed for anyone looking for service in their specific region or a specific area. That's like, we needed, like, if you think about it, like, if you're in a very big area and very wide area and you're like a local, you're looking for someone that can serve you locally, right? You're gonna probably first look up Casas Adobe's HVAC. Now, if this is for Tucson residents, right? Because this is just outside of Tucson, and technically, I think in Tucson, I'm actually not sure, and if I'm wrong, I'm sorry if I offend anybody, but it's close enough to the point where my client serves this area, because my client is an HVAC out in Tucson, and essentially, if you look up Casas Adobe's HVAC, that's probably where you're going to start first, and if not, then you're going to look for Tucson HVAC. But the idea is that if we can get a HVAC page to rank, Casas Adobe's HVAC, then it's likely that if you're in that region or in that neighborhood or town, that you're going to contact that first, contractor that you see. And the more that you have, the more likely you are to actually reach out to people that are in neighboring towns or cities or areas that you service. So I believe if we look up Tanque Verde HVAC, this is another place in Arizona or in Tucson and in the Pima County region. So if I look up, I think one of these should appear. Maybe it's because my location is in Arizona, but the idea is that you're basically trying to get your client or maybe yourself to rank in a local area. So I could kind of just do this all day, but let's just see if I can get another example. Like you can see Oro Valley HVAC, right? We're still trying to compete against BBB, Yelp, and all these other huge sites. But you can see, like, this is the first actual site that appears. So these location pages are very helpful. And one of the things that I'm doing right now is I'm working on a rank and rent site that is essentially going to rank for various keywords. Like, it's already ranking for Bakersville, like roofing Bakersville, New Hampshire. Now I know this search term isn't searched a whole lot, but you can see that it's ranking #1, and this is the location page. Now I actually have a video in my previous video, which I'll link to in this video, talking about my rank and rent strategy, and I actually go over how I'm making location pages. But the idea is that you're trying to hit a variety of users nearby. So the thing about this is that Google doesn't like location pages. I don't like location pages because, if I'm in, Manhattan in New York, right, and I'm doing pest control, and there's another company that's in Brooklyn doing pest control, but I have a page that's ranking #1 for Brooklyn pest control, even though I'm not in Brooklyn, Google's going to get upset and they're going to favor the company that's actually in Brooklyn and actually has a large clientele basis in Brooklyn. Now, this is kind of gray hat SEO because while it is a little bit, in Google's eyes, they don't like explicit lying about location pages. What I mean by that is, let's say you have like a P.O. box, right? Let's say you have a P.O. box and you're part of this giant, city. Let's say there's 2 parts to your town or city or whatever, and you're in portion A and you're trying to rank in portion B. So you get a P.O. box in portion B, right? And what's going to end up happening is if you say, hey, we're located in location B, but you're actually only just having a P.O. box, And again, Google and other search engines are becoming incredibly smart. They can figure this stuff out. They can tell if your location is actually a real location or if it's just some mailing address that you hire someone on Craigslist for an additional location page, or if it's, they're not stupid. So when you do this type of stuff, when you say, hey, we're located in location B, even though you're technically not, it's going to actually penalize your rankings, or at least it has for some people. And it's something that I would also personally avoid because it is kind of deceptive. Instead, what I would do is I would say something like, hey, we service location B. So you don't want to say like, hey, we're in location B, because you may not be. And even if you are, like, unless you have a physical office, like if you're a law firm and you have two offices where you consistently are active, that's perfectly fine, and you should definitely capitalize on that. But if you're a solo practitioner and you have one office, right, and you just buy a P.O. box in another location just to say that you serve that location, and if you're caught, it's going to hurt your rankings. So what I always do, and what I always recommend clients do, is list out the locations you want to rank for. So if we look at, like, let me just show you kind of where I'm at. So I'm in New Hampshire, right, in Manchester, in this kind of shitty city. And so essentially I would kind of say, hey, Mr. Client, where do you want to rank? Do you want to rank in Hanover Hill, Bakersville, Bedford, etc., like local towns? And that's kind of why I chose Bakersville, because it's just south of Manchester. It's actually, I believe, it's still part of Manchester, but it's like the downtown area. And I know when people say downtown, they refer to where all the commotion is going on, but I'm from New York, so I refer to downtown as literally just the down part of New York. So roofing Bakersville, New Hampshire, right? This is where we're ranking number 1, because first of all, no one's actually making content around this, and second of all, it's a very specific location that if one person's looking this up, they're most likely actually in Bakersville and they're actually looking to get some roofing done. So the idea is that I'm basically in this page, I'm just talking about how, hey, we serve Bedford, New Hampshire in this particular page, or hey, we serve Bakersville, New Hampshire, right? We serve the residents. So you don't want to be deceptive. So avoid being deceptive, because one, it's just your ethics. Where the hell are they? Like, dude, don't get a P.O. box and just say, hey, we have an address at this location, because yes, you can say we have a P.O. address, but again, who's going to take you seriously if you just say, hey, I have a P.O. address? And if you don't say, and if you say, hey, we have an office, you're just basically lying. Especially like if you don't have an office, you're lying, right? So don't do that. It's kind of silly, and it's also going to hurt your rankings in the long run. You may get some quick wins at first, but it's going to hurt you in the long run. Instead, just talk about how you serve the location and what should you put in your location pages. So what you should be putting in your location pages are pictures, street view of town. I always go on Google Maps for this. You should be maybe posting monuments, monuments / iconic buildings. Iconic buildings, right? Monuments, whatever. You want to post a poster, and you want to do your call to action and all that. Now, what I'm talking about is this. So this image over here is actually just a screenshot of Bakersville, New Hampshire, and now this over here, you'll see, like, let me actually go to Hookset, because that's actually the one that was completed. So this is just a street view of Hookset, New Hampshire, and essentially we have a poster over here that just says Roofing and Siding Company, Hookset, New Hampshire. Google can read this, they understand it, they're not stupid, and we just put this is also just a free alt text, because again, you want to just describe the image. So this image is literally just Manchester NH Roofing and Siding Company, and in fact it should be a Hookset. So Roofing and Siding Company in Hookset, New Hampshire poster, or something like that. This way we literally have the target keyword in there, and it's going to really help our rankings. Now, you should do this for every single page that you have. You want to get a street view of the town, because then your alt text is literally going to be street view of whatever your whatever your town is. So in this case, you can see over here we have an image of Hooksett, New Hampshire, right? So Hooksett, New Hampshire street view .png. That's easy to read. Everyone knows what that is. Street view of Hooksett, New Hampshire. You can go more specific and talk about the actual street and the actual road that it was taken on. I don't care about that. I just say it's the street view of the area. You can kind of visualize it. And next, again, if you have any towns or for example, Concord in New Hampshire is the state capital. So if we were trying to rank in Concord, I might just grab the picture of the Concord state building or something and then just use that. So those are kind of the 3 things that you want to include. You want to include a street view of the town, monuments or iconic buildings, and a poster. And your location pages should always reference other location pages. So as you can see over here, if we go to Bakersville, New Hampshire, I'm referencing Bedford. So located across Bedford, New Hampshire, homeowners, right? So this is going to help me rank for Bedford, New Hampshire, because I actually just did this morning. It's not going to show here, but if we look up, roofing, Bedford, New Hampshire, ideally speaking, once we get the authority passed from this page to this page, we're going to be able to rank for that key phrase. So the idea again is you want to build your, distribute your page authority, and also make sure that you're just talking about how you service the area, right? You can just talk about your experience. Maybe you've had clientele there, maybe you've done whatever. And especially if you're a dentist or if you're a law firm where you don't really travel to clients all the time, you can just talk about how some of your clients are from there. You're friendly for the neighborhood. So if you're in New York, right, and you're in Brooklyn, or let's say you're in Queens, you're in Far Rockaway, and again, if you're kind of wondering what I'm talking about, I'm just trying to reach out to the New York audience because from New York, you feel me? And so if you're in Rockaway or Far Rockaway or any of those areas, right? But let's say you've had clientele that are in Ozone Park or something, or Richmond Hill. You just talk about Richmond Hill, hey, Richmond Hill attorney or something like that. Attorney serving Richmond Hill, something like that. You can just make your focus keyword and then build content around that. So I hope that this makes sense, and I hope that this is not super crazy and super technical, because I don't want it to be something that kids couldn't understand. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I got to get back to my team and my VAs right now, but I really appreciate you guys watching these videos. It means a lot to me. And if you leave a comment or subscribe and leave a like, that means the world to me. So thank you for watching, and I wish you guys a great day.